Oh, what the hell? Why did you move? No one gave you permission to move, camera. Yeah. You think I see you? You think I see you trying to get away from me? Camera. I'm watching you. We're both watching you. Aren't we, Foxy? We're watching you. Forever. Now, that my camera appears to be behaving itself. Well, I'm not really sure what this falls under. Is it advice? Or is it just a tale of my woe? I'll figure out how to categorize it once it's finished. But for now, loves, just know this. Today, I'm talking about depression and mental health. And perhaps I might touch on developmental disorders at some point also. Although I may save that for another day. You may or may not know this, but I have rather severe depression. I'm medicated, but sometimes the sadness does come in, and that's fine. Sadness is an emotion. It's an important emotion. It lets you know that something is wrong. Would be helpful if I actually let you know what was wrong, but, well, I think I first felt depressed when I was 7 or 8. Then I was fine for a long time, and then since my high school years I've been struggling with depression quite a lot. Only in this last year or so have I been taken seriously enough by my doctor to actually get medication. She's a wonderful doctor. But my previous physicians had merely insisted it was teenage angst and it would go away on its own. And I suppose they did have to be sure, but I was in so much pain. Anyway, even now that I'm medicated, sometimes, as previously discussed, I still have low times. It has peaks and valleys. So this is a message from me to you, loves. Statistically speaking, the majority of people, the vast majority of people, will face some kind of mental health issue at some point in their lives. So it is ferociously unlikely that you don't, at the very least, know someone who has, is, or will go through this at some point. And that's okay. It's fine. It's part of life. The first thing we need to do is eradicate the stigma against mental health. The idea that it's all in our heads, well, I suppose technically it is. But it still affects physical health in a broad and messy spectra There are many spectra in which it harms us. A spectrum of physical ailments, persistent psychological ailments attached to the major disease as symptoms. For example, mood swings can be a disorder in their own right, but are also symptomatic of some forms of depression, most notably bipolar disorder, otherwise known as manic depression, which actually runs quite heavily in my family. So there's a good chance I have some variant of rapid cycling something or other. Which, you know, makes sense. I have pretty drastic mood swings from time to time. But enough about me. You loves, if your friend comes to you with... If a friend or family member comes to you to confide in you that they're in pain, to scoff in their face would be unhelpful, to say the least. Potentially counterproductive. It may, in fact, do them additional harm. Now, it is of course possible that they are lying for attention, or that they're blowing it out of proportion, or something. However, it is still important that you at least humour them, you know, take them seriously, to an extent. Perhaps, in your mind, consider the possibility that without further evidence, there may not be an issue there, but still support them, you know? I mean, it's a bit of a tricky thing. If they don't have something, and they are just looking for attention, then you're feeding that, and that's bad. But if they do have something, then you're helping them through one of the darkest times of their life, and that's good. So, I guess, take what they say with a pinch of salt, and just be there for them as best you can, in whatever way you see fit. For those of you who are actively suffering from such a terrible, terrible woe, there are a lot of things you can do to try and alleviate the symptoms. Of course, given that the symptoms of depression are quite often, a very common symptom is listlessness, lack of zeal. I myself suffer from this, and so it is difficult for me to do the things that I know would help me. It's kind of a catch-22. I need to do these things in order to help with my problem, but my problem is what's stopping me from doing them. But, well, I'm all through, you know. Medication's bloody wonderful. If you can get some, I recommend that you use it as prescribed by your doctor, because it will help. And, I mean, it might not help at first, and you might want to just give up on it altogether, but don't. I mean, I think I spent a week on mirtazapine. It nearly killed me. I was just out of my mind with anxiety and stress. I was so stressed out I couldn't wash myself, and I freaked out, and I just secloided myself away in here, cloistered off from the world. I just spiraling. And then they put me on fluoxetine for a while, and that seemed to do the trick. It seemed really good. At first. At first it seemed like a miracle cure, and then it just got progressively less and less effective. And then they switched me to citalopram. My mother recommended this to them because citalopram seems to work really well for everyone in my family. So, whadam. And that's what I'm on now. And it helps a lot. So, there will be some teething trouble, a kind of period where you're just trying to find the right medication and then the right dosage of the medication, and eventually you'll get the right balance and it'll be fine. Hopefully you'll find something with it which doesn't have too many heavy side effects. Lithium, for example, is a common component of many mood stabilizers and can actually be prescribed on its own as a mood stabilizer. However, it has some side effects, weight gain, increased appetite, loss of appetite. Actually, come to think of it, increase and loss of appetite are quite common side effects of most antidepressants. So, you know, just try and find what's right for you. And for those of you who don't believe in Western medicine, well, for one thing, you're crazy. But there are some herbal remedies that can help. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are some. Do some research into that if you want. Just make sure you're not getting snake oil, you know. Make sure what you're actually getting is actually good, you know, like herbal remedies actually have an effect and aren't just fucking... I lost the word, homeopathic. For those of you who think homeopathy is real, I have no patience for you. Simple fools. Wash it down until it's just nothing. Ugh. Idiots. But no, that's not what we're here to talk about today. Nearly went off on a massive tangent. ADHD will do that. But again, that's something for another day. Right. And, I mean, you know, so that's depression covered quite succinctly. Therapy works too, to an extent. I mean, I keep ending up with therapists who are freaking useless, but, you know, whatever. You might not. You might find someone who's actually good. I think there are better therapists in America. I don't know. The ones on TV always seem great, but the ones I've encountered in my real life are terrible, and I don't know if that's a difference between the media and reality or a difference between Britain and America. But all the therapists I've seen are useless. Maybe you'll find someone who isn't. Hooray! I doubt it, but I digress. Now, there are a lot of mental illnesses, and I'm going to attempt to cover most of them, even the ones with which I have little to no experience. So, kind of a disclaimer there, I am getting further from stuff I actually know about, so this is going to get progressively more and more generic. There are a plethora, a myriad of different illnesses of the mind, but they all share some traits in their destructive capability, you understand? I mean, they have very different symptoms, but they can destroy your life in much the same way as one another. To varying extents, depending on the degree to which you suffer and the potency of that particular illness. And though the particulars will be very different from one another, it mostly can be treated with medication and therapy to an extent. So, good luck, and I hope you find the help you need. Most important advice I can give you is just remember your disease isn't who you are. It isn't who you're meant to be. It is keeping you from who you are meant to be. It is an obstacle between you and happiness, between you and finding your bliss. Unless your mental illness is just euphoria that never ever stops, then your illness is keeping you from sadness and pain. But pain is useful. And I'm rambling a little, I'm sorry. Just you will survive. As long as you believe that. As long as you believe that you can survive it, you will. You might be pushed, tempted to end things abruptly, but don't, just, no matter how dark things get, no matter how alone you might feel, you've still got one person you can count on. Yourself. In times of hardship, in times of loneliness, in times where you are completely and utterly, abandoned, in those times, you will be your best friend. You need to be strong for yourself. You need to remember that it will get better. The first thing you need to do is find help. Anything. Just hang in there, Kitty. If you can get through this rough patch, if you can survive it, and I know you will, then you will be so much stronger for it. The fact that you're still alive, having not just ended everything from how difficult it all is, how impossible it all seems, that alone proves how strong you are. No matter how weak you think you are, you're strong enough to have survived this far. So you're strong enough to survive a little longer. And a little longer after that. And you keep surviving. Hear me? You will be okay. We survive! And I know what you're thinking. I can't. It's too hard. It's impossible. I just can't. Well, it's not a matter of can or can't. There are some things in life we just do. So hold on. You may want to be alone. You may end up driving people away from you. But if you can bear it, hang on to them. You need a framework of support now more than ever. Trust me. You'll be okay. Do whatever you need to survive. Just be sure that you do survive. This has been Man Witch of the West, and I hope you found this helpful. Ciao.